The process of standards takes time to build consensus, and so the work doesn't happen overnight. I used to think standards moved at the speed of glaciers, but the process is being speeded up. So I began by working on standards in the area. I was most interested in software documentation and user documentation, and was involved with revising an IEEE standard 1063 for software and systems user documentation. So over the years, the process went from when all documents were produced on paper, and my first project was involved with people who had been real pioneers in the field. The very first documentation standard was for the labels for reel tapes. And Tom Kurihara, who was involved in that first meeting I attended, is still involved and with the latest standards for intelligent vehicle transport and for our current standards for doing documentation through websites, through wikis and blogs, and making standards relevant to the communication needs of people who communicate through mobile devices rather than on the large dumb terminals we had back then.
When I won the election to become the Computer Society president, the first offer I got to go and meet some group was from her committee. It's the United States Technical Activity Group for the Subcommittee on Software and Systems Engineering. It was in Washington, D.C., and I thought, oh, this is probably just like one of the Computer Society standards meetings. And I got there and I was just amazed at the organization. This must have been a couple hundred people from around the U.S. Coming on their own funds to get there. It was an impressive group, and Annette was actually the leader of this. I knew she had some role, but I didn't know she was the chair of this U.S. tag.
About 15 years ago, I saw an announcement that a group was meeting locally, and I've always found that the experts that are most involved usually welcome newcomers, and they're not exclusionary at all. And I went to the meeting and had hardly been there half an hour when those involved said, well, would you like to go to our meeting in London in a couple of weeks? And I said, wait a minute, this is a bit sudden. But being involved with standards was something that I could work on a more discretionary schedule than the projects at work that had really fast deadlines right then.
Her technical work in agile methods has been just absolutely outstanding and has set the framework for how IEEE standards deal with agile methods.
It's obvious when you work with physical objects that have to be interconnected, electrical connections when you go to a different country, your cell phone connector when you get a new phone and the old connector doesn't fit. Issues of interoperability have to be addressed through standards. There's always the tension between the desire for proprietary uniqueness and the desire to make things interoperable so that other developers can work on your product and make it more of a commercial success.
She has done a remarkable job in coordinating the International Software Engineering Dictionary. This requires not only technical skills, but just outstanding management skills to deal with the diverse cultural differences that exist in the international arena. We all need a singular dictionary, and she was the one that achieved it.
I just retired last week, as it turns out, from Lockheed Martin after working there for 31 years. And I was involved pretty much from the beginning in professional development activities through professional societies, and joined IEEE, I believe, in 1978, way back when. And For a while, it was mostly on my own time as a volunteer. Sometimes because of the nature of my work, it's best to keep things separate. But I found as I went on in my career that I worked as both a system engineer in documentation and also in proposals and as a proposal manager in IT areas. And eventually, the services that we were providing to our customers often involved us having a knowledge of the standards in the field of systems and software engineering, IT service management. And so being familiar with those standards and saying that I had helped to develop them and lead them and could interpret what they meant because I helped to write them was often an advantage in the work that we were preparing.
Annette is one of those rare individuals that we encounter every now and then. Not only is she dedicated, but she is trustworthy. Whatever Annette says she will do, you can be guaranteed that Annette will do it to the fullest of her ability, and generally the results are extremely high quality and of tremendous value to the Computer Society.
If you think standards are outmoded, not suited to your line of work, irrelevant, there's a way to make that better. There's a way to standardize, provide a guide, give some insights to people. Standardization is a way to make things that are usable not only within your own organization, but worldwide. And IEEE is one of the premier organizations that makes that happen. So it's definitely a good place where a few determined people can make a real difference. When you work on standards, you follow Isaac Newton's observation, and he took it from people hundreds of years before him, that if we see a long way, it's because we're standing on the shoulders of giants.